Hi everyone, welcome back to The Grind. We are on the last episode of this series, Sent Missions.
I thought it was the last episode.
No, it's not the last episode ever. That would be heartbreaking. No.
Our writers are also on strike.
Man, imagine that. We are talking about the last message of the series, Sent, and I do hope that it has been a really good one for you guys.
It
Definitely.
is. It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
I think it's definitely kind of reminding me just the heart for missions for me.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily overseas, but even
Yeah.
locally as well.
Yeah.
So-
True.
Yeah, so we had a message by Darcy, and he was talking about being all in. Being all in, basically having this radical generosity,
Yeah.
talking about what giving is sacrificially and the
Yeah.
heart of what giving should be.
Yes.
So I thought that was really good.
Very good.
Yes.
Very insightful.
So I believe Rico has a
Yeah, I know. I lost my train of thought. Okay, question, guys. Before we go through like the very serious questions, could you guys think of any creative way on how you can give, or have you been in a situation where you sacrificially gave up something?
Gave up something?
Like for instance, for me,
oh, yes. Rico
since
said-
I'm already having this question, I'll answer.
yeah,
So that you guys can think. One of the things that I really gave was a bass guitar
Oh.
that was given to me by my dad. So I take it really very preciously because that was one of the, like, I know that dad gave it to me very genuinely, like he wanted to give me a bass, a 5-string bass, and it was a Warwick. I miss it. But
May it rest in peace.
no, it's still, I just gave it to someone else back in the Philippines because I just felt like he would be able to use it more, and I felt like it would be more productive for the bass to be there. Although there were some defects to it. I mean, because I love the guitar, I would have brought it back to Hong Kong and then probably have it repaired. But it's in the Philippines and it's being used pretty well. So yeah, so that's one thing for me. Yeah. Now I have a new bass. Somebody give it to me. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, very nice.
Look at that. I am gonna go a little bit less deep. When I play tag with some 3-4-year-olds that I hang out with sometimes, I deliberately lose.
Oh,
sacrificial.
that's very creative. That's actually creative.
As someone who is competitive but hates running, I could win them very easily, but I
Like,
do not.
I
yeah.
win.
Yeah. Or like playing hide and seek with them, and then you just pretend you don't see them.
Yeah.
Where is she? And I'm just like staring at her feet.
and then you'll be like,
I'm here. Where is she?
I had to strike a balance for that, for sure.
Yeah,
Like
she
competition
is
and
more
what?
competitive than I am.
I mean, we have all heard me that one time when I was going against the youth in games.
Oh yes.
And I did say at one point to a certain youth that it sucked to be him because he lost. So,
Wow. What a way of giving, huh?
yeah, I know, right? Because
giving them a reality check.
Exactly. See,
exactly.
that's sacrificial giving because, how else will they ever learn?
Exactly. The world does not come easy, guys.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. So I'm just doing the best thing to prepare them for life.
Yeah.
It is very sacrificial on my part.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So
I bet they were prepared more
Good
than
for
what
you.
college did for them.
exactly.
Good for you.
Because then they know that it doesn't really suck to be them.
Oh, well. Good for you.
Yeah,
You
no,
break them first and then you ship them
Yeah,
overseas.
I know. Definitely. That's not a very encouraging thing to tell someone. So please don't ever do that, guys. Please don't ever do that. That is not right. But yes, I think that I would say time
Yeah.
was something that I gave up a lot. Not saying that was bad or anything like that, but like, in your 20s, I think you can spend time doing a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
But in my 20s, I guess I was doing it in youth ministry,
Yeah.
so which is very like countercultural to what people my age then would have
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
Be partying and stuff like that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, but I can think of actually a moment, something where someone gave me something that was big.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't big per se. It's it's a necklace, right? So I think it was a
Aw.
time when they were in town and it was a guest team, Danny Silk's team,
Oh.
And then I wanted one of the ladies on his team. I was talking to her, and then she gave me this. She gave me this necklace that said "create" on a key. So it's like, and then
So
she said
cute.
that I want you to continue to create.
Oh,
And
and
so-
then now you're in the creative team.
Yeah, I was sort of
Okay.
then, but then sorry, wrong.
It's okay.
But it wasn't before creative. But anyways, it's just like an encouragement that at that point is like she was
So
like telling me to continue to do that. So
Yeah.
I thought that was actually
That's
very,
so sweet.
Yeah.
very kind. Like she had that necklace on herself and she kind of gave it to me. So I was like, okay, so sort of like a pay it forward kind of deal.
Yeah.
Oh, like
So-
it was hers. She like took it
Yeah,
off
yeah,
and gave
yeah,
it to you.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's super sweet.
Yeah, so that was pretty sacrificial,
Yeah.
giving, generous. So all the above, all the synonyms.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Thesaurus.com.
the story. That's
The-
what
the
that's
Thesaurus.
The
A Hasaurus.
Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus.
So Ahasuerus,
Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus,
Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus. What am I? Okay, so when it comes to giving, right? Normally it's tithing that might be the first thing that comes to mind,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like amount of money that you give. But
Yeah.
right now in this context, we're talking about giving that goes beyond measuring numbers. We're
Yeah.
talking about, like as we mentioned, sacrificial giving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about what giving looked like to you guys, but let's talk a little bit more about what the sacrificial giving looked like to you, like in terms of time, finances, resources, ministry gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are some real life examples of when giving to Jesus cost you something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sacrificial. I mean, like, from the word itself, it's basically you're giving up something.
Yeah.
So sacrificial giving is something that probably is valuable, something is very worth for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, the woman in the story, probably those 2 cents are the only ones that she have left, and then she gave it all. So it's basically giving everything you have.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm thinking about time. I'm thinking back specifically to college.
Yeah.
When I was in university, whether this was intentional or not, I think it kind of showed to a lot of my Christian friends that I have been a Christian for quite a while.
Yeah.
Or that I was in like leadership position of some sort. One is not better than the other.
Yeah.
But it was just they were younger than me in their faith, which meant they came to me a lot for questions, for anything, for guidance, even like for friendship. It was always written into the threads of that friendship that it was kind of like a little bit like a mentor mentee,
Yeah.
even though we're the same age, even though we're also just great friends.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mind, which I actually loved, but it got to a point where I realized that I needed to take a step back and realize that I was tapping into my reserves because I was struggling with university. I was struggling with figuring myself out as well. So I wasn't pouring into myself before I started pouring into other people. And then so when I took a step back from all of that, I realized like, okay, I need to say no to that. And this might sound a little bit weird, but saying no to doing that sort of thing in university was a sacrifice to me. Like saying no to small groups asking me to be leaders, saying no to churches asking me to serve, even telling my friends straight up like I'm sorry, I can't really walk through this with you in this sense of the matter, but I am always a text away. That was sacrifice to me because I needed to sort my own faith out. I needed to go back to God myself. Because I was just pulling out of an old journal at that point.
Yeah.
Nothing new was getting poured into me. Everything
Yeah.
was being poured out.
Yeah.
So saying no to go back to God felt like I was halting someone else's faith. So I needed to get to a point where I was like, it's not about you, Steph.
Yeah. I think you're what you're trying to say is also sort of like trying to take care of yourself to be able to sort of reach out to these people in a way that
It will
you-
actually benefit
yes,
them.
yeah. I get what you mean.
Because sometimes in order to serve someone, you have to also in a way lay down part of yourself
Yeah.
and go out of your way to
Yeah.
reach out to that person. Like, you know, sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone, right? I think that's also in a way a form of sacrifice.
Yes.
Because you're clearly doing something that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
So if I were to go back to using my example of like, say, serving, you know, first time into youth ministry, not
Yeah.
like in college, and then working with kids who challenged every fiber of my patience that I never knew didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then it's definitely like I could just be like, I really don't want to do this, and be like, I don't have to serve at church. I can just continue on with my college life and
Yeah.
then just get on with it.
Yeah.
I think it's just like that deep convictions, like, you know, if you want to do something,
Yeah.
or I guess make good use of your time.
Mhm.
If this is how I can do it, then, and this is where the church needs help,
Yeah.
then I will step up.
Yeah.
I will lay down my pain and my pride. So, and just go for it. Yeah. So, have you ever actually known someone who was the epitome of sacrificial giving, who was just like, I don't know, just was one of the most generous people you knew?
I'm gonna say my dad.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say my dad. He's very generous with his finances. He's very generous with his time. Like, I know as his daughter, I get an extra layer of that generosity.
Yeah.
But really, when I look at my dad and the way he relates to the people around him, he just gives.
Yeah. I have to agree, definitely, for sure. I've seen examples.
Pets also benefited
I have. Thank you. Thank
from
you.
my father's
Thank you, Uncle Tang. Yes.
Uncle Tang.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing for me is my dad as well. Just because one thing is that his lifestyle of how he portrays giving, well, not portray, like how he gives,
Yeah.
is very out of this sort of like normal world. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just more of like when you're giving is usually giving out of like when it's convenient for you.
Yeah.
Like you have something, then you're just gonna give.
Yeah.
But for my dad, it's really more of like sometimes to a point where they're really tight. But then the first thing they're gonna be thinking about, we need to give for those who are in need right now.
Yeah.
Take it and go. Take it and go. Take it and go.
So that one for me was like, wow, I don't know how much I mean, like I would hope that I would have a drop of that generosity from my dad, but yeah, I can tell it's gonna be tough if it was me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's hard to cultivate
Yeah.
because it's like what you said, it truly is just leaving yourself behind
Mhm.
and going for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's no selfishness
Yeah.
in full generosity.
And
Yeah.
this particular generosity is not only an act, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what I can say, because if it's in an if that particular generosity, because generosity can still be out of like the act of kindness, let's
Of course.
just say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're doing it in the act of kindness, it's not bad, it's just that it's not within your sort of like spectrum of giving.
Yeah.
That's how should I say.
Yeah.
And then but when it comes to like lifestyle, even though for other people it's like that's the way you're giving, it's maybe unpractical, or like you're not even thinking about yourself,
Yeah.
and then it's just, and then for them it's, oh, but this is what I do, this is a lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
That one, I think it's, for me, that kind of giving is a different sort of level out of like the act of kindness that we normally can be able to receive from people. And I mean, like, I'm very appreciated for this sort of kindness. It's just it's different, it's just different. And the way that they do things is, you can tell that it's not from the act of like
Self-promotion.
yeah, or anything like that. But it's more really like, this is not coming from you, this is
Yeah.
coming from God. Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, it seems as though all our fathers are super generous, because I mean, I would say my father too, now that y'all say fathers, so gotta stay in program, right? On brand, right? So
stay in the program.
Can't say someone completely different.
Get the memo back.
Yeah, I got it. Duly noted. My father. So because I think like for him, he doesn't necessarily have like a unhealthy relationship with money, because there's some people that are just like really frugal, and then just that's all they are, like stingy. I mean, my dad
thrifty.
Thrifty.
Yeah.
My dad is smart with money, and then I also see him like willing to be there for his family. So if people need help, he's there. And then he doesn't necessarily like, oh, you like, if they need help, like say financially, he's going to be like, okay, I'm going to help you out. It's not like oh, but then you need to bring me back this with interest or whatever it is. He's quite generous that way. And then I mean also generous in the sense like he would pick up hitchhikers
Really?
In Malaysia?
and like one time he came by, like he was picking me, my brother, and his wife and another friend.
And then you have new uncles.
No, something like that. 'Cause
You accidentally greet them because they
he picks us up, drops us off. I was like, Dad, where are you going? I thought we were having lunch. Like, oh yeah, I gotta go pick up a couple. We're like, huh? What couple? And then my mom's like, yeah, we found him by the side of the road. I was like, huh? And then
we adopted some stray people.
and then he comes back with a pair of Russians.
He's the epitome of Samaritan.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like,
And they hung out with you?
yeah, so we had Malay food with a pair of Russian hitchhikers in Malaysia.
Wow.
My dad bought them lunch. They needed a ride, so my dad was just like, okay, hey, where do you need a ride to? Oh, we need to get here. Okay, hey, yeah, we can take you there. Want to join us for lunch? Yeah, sure, okay.
Oh my, cute.
So never in my life would I have thought to have had lunch with Russians.
Love and kindness.
Exactly. So that is the kind of, I guess, generosity.
I love stories like
Yeah.
I love stories like those
'Cause
because
he's very-
they're so wild.
Yeah.
They are.
Like what? Like
Yeah.
serious?
That's why I was like, I would never think to do it, but there we go. My dad's just like, he's like, yeah, we help people out. I was like,
Huh?
see, my dad. Okay, cool, dad.
At
So
the same
wild.
time, I know I if I ever want to pick up a hitchhiker, I will have to pray hard.
Yeah, like whether or not they're gonna.
Lord
I am
Jesus,
easily
just make sure they don't stab me in the back.
Yeah, have you
yes,
seen The
yes,
Serpent?
yes.
I rest my case. That is a TV series about hitchhikers, and that does not end well for them.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't look like I can pick up a hitchhiker.
Same
Maybe
for
if
me.
I'm ever with Papa Lynn, I will.
Yeah, maybe Papa Lynn will keep anything safe. So if we look at the whole idea of giving, right? Again, going back to it, it's all about the heart, the motivation behind it. It's not about the amount.
Amen.
And so important thing is that Jesus is measuring the heart. And we use the story of the widow, right? That was referenced. And in her giving, it was for her a deep sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I guess it was deep trust, right? Because
Oh yeah.
And deep pocket.
a deep pocket for those 2 coins
Truly.
to come up and drop it off. But then the thing is, it came with a deep reward. So I think an interesting point is that like it's not about how much we give, but rather how much is left over for personal use
Yeah.
after the gift. Because I think that's probably it. It's like we're okay to give a lot
As long as we have enough.
for
Yeah.
ourselves.
Like I just need to leave something for myself. Something
Exactly.
Yeah,
But then
gotta
if there's
pay
nothing
rent.
left for ourselves, it's like, what's that, right? So I believe that could be a huge obstacle for many people.
Like that. Yeah.
So for you guys, what are your obstacles to giving sacrificially?
I think in every aspect, it's just exactly that. Like, I would say that I know myself pretty well. So, in terms of how much energy I can give, like, as an extrovert, there's not a lot. How much energy I can give, how much time, how much prayer ministry I can do before I really just need to, like, sit down and whatnot. And all of those things come with having tried before, having burnt out before, having not burnt out before. It's
You're tearing. Sorry. Anyway. So sorry, guys.
It's fine.
no worries.
Oh my gosh.
Burnt
Don't
out.
tell me
Burnt
that
out.
I just
Burnt out.
lost your train of thought again.
Wait. It's trial and error.
Okay.
Figuring out where my burnout points is trial and error in my own just like daily life. And that's what I love about missions trips, or being able to like getting the opportunity to just be thrown into a youth camp and be forced to stay awake with them for 3 nights and and serve for 4 days. Because it's a short-term time, you realize that with God, with God's grace, you really can push your body to a higher capacity. You can touch more people, you can see more things, you can pray more, pray longer. And then I come home and rest. So what I have loved about this sermon series of seeing my own daily life as a missions field is learning to shift that perspective a little bit of, yeah, I've done this before on a 2-week trip. How can I do that for the rest of my life? Like, what does it look like to continuously tap into God's reserve and not my reserve, and have that close walk with God, so I know where the line is, so I'm not tapping into the wrong place, and realize, okay, like, Steph is just tired today, not Steph is burnt out today, or Steph just needs to sit down for 2 minutes. And
Steph just gave her 120% today.
And not like, oh, I need to go back and sleep, you know?
Yeah.
Like figuring out actually where it is and not being so protective of the whole like self-care, self-love, me before others, and, you know, finding the godly balance in a very secular self-care world.
Wow, that's very good. I don't know how to top that one.
Was it? I have no idea what I said. I blacked out a bit.
It's actually really good.
And she was giving herself her own self-care.
Okay, guys, I need to get some rest.
Her brain actually tapped out, you know, sacrificial brain cells.
I have no idea whether any of that made sense.
So, I mean, there is a balance also of like self-care and what's the other end of the spectrum?
Care yourself.
Because you don't want to be like, oh, it's all about self-care, but then you forget about the other people.
Yeah.
And you don't want to also be like, oh, it's all about the people and then,
not about me at all.
And then all me at all.
Yeah.
Burn out
Yeah.
and self-care, I guess. I mean, maybe that's a fine balance that we define.
Love yourself. Love your neighbors as you love yourself.
Yes. So you can only love your neighbors as yourself if you actually love yourself.
Yes.
So how do you love yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
How do we
balancing
love
that.
ourselves?
Self-care spa. No.
I think for me, I don't know if in terms of like sacrificial, if this is one of those, but there was a period when so our previous worship director, when he was telling me during that time, like, hey Rico, have you even tried leading worship, or like because we feel that you're called to be a worship leader and stuff like that. And for me, it was a sacrifice just cause I hate being in the front. I hate it so much. I'm so sorry.
But yet here you are in front of the camera.
No, but still, it's my heartbeat is like double the beat. Anyway, so during the time, it was already a sacrifice in terms of like just being able to be in the front, and then, well, not being in the front, but being there and sort of exposing yourself, and you will always have this mindset also that you can have a moment of embarrassment, should I say, like because I've never had any experience in terms of like leading worship, and then it comes into this moment where you have to I mean, for you, you've experienced this where you're gonna be leading worship, but you're not gonna be singing. You're not just gonna be singing the song.
Yeah.
Leading is to lead the people to the presence of God through those songs, like the songs that you sing. So it's not just about singing. It's about really getting engaged with the congregation and being able to just go in a time of worship and then seeking God's presence and then be filled with the Holy Spirit. And sometimes, no, not sometimes, all the time, it requires a lot of letting go. Like, okay, I don't know what you're about to do, God, at this moment, so I'm just gonna let go. And then those moments for me, I feel is a sacrifice, because you're taking away everything that you're like your knowledge in terms of like how are you gonna do things. You're taking away the things that you've already rehearsed, and you're sacrificing that moment in the essence of like, okay, I wanted it to be perfect, but then that moment is a time where the Holy Spirit is going to do something. Your perfection is different from what the perfection of the Holy Spirit is about to do on that moment. So for me, I feel that one, there's a lot of sacrifice to be made, because everything is just out of the ordinary, things that you have no expectation of what's going to happen. And I think that's sacrifice for me.
Yeah. No, it's a lot, especially
Yeah.
because it's real time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
real time on stage in front of the entire congregation. You're just going, God, I don't even know what melody I'm gonna sing.
Yeah.
Whether there even is one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during that time, the thing that sometimes that comes in my mind is fear and embarrassment. Like you're like there for like 2 minutes and you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Fear.
But then you
Yeah.
just realize that people are really responding because it's a moment of silence. We're like, Lord, whoa, what was that? Like,
Not you. That's what it was.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's amazing. So yeah.
So, with the widow, I don't think she was thinking about image, right? When she gave
Yeah.
the
The
pennies,
offering, yeah.
the offerings, and I think we live in a culture where image is very
Yes.
like important. Like people spend a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a term like face, right? Like
Yeah,
you
give
have to
face.
give face.
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Give face.
Yeah. And I think that did get in the way of her to give sacrificially. And I know, like, for me, when it comes to giving sacrificially, I suppose I don't even really necessarily think about things being reciprocated, like, to be honest.
Mhm.
I think it's just more, maybe sometimes I take my time
Mm.
and, like, oh, what should I do? And then when I think about, like, what should I do?
Mm.
And then in the end, I don't do.
Mm.
Right?
Oh.
So maybe that's also an obstacle, a
Yeah.
potential
Hesitation,
obstacle.
right?
The hesitation. Or like maybe the whole thing of like, oh, maybe I don't have what it takes to do this,
I get that a lot. Yeah.
right? But then like in Romans 12 it says, you know, your body is a living sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's basically at the end of the day it boils down to our choice, because
Yeah.
the way I see it with the living sacrifice is like I don't know, I have this image of like you crawl up on the altar, you also have the ability to crawl off the altar.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like in order to be a sacrifice, it's your choice.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to be all in
Yeah.
for Jesus?
It's like I remember there was this drama that we had in the Philippines about. So it was an evangelistic service, and then
Oh, sorry, I thought I was thinking TV drama, but you actually
No,
talking
no,
about real
it
life
was-
drama.
it was an
alright, alright. So it's not a
evangelical
telenovela?
it's not telenovela, it's not a teleserye. It's a drama, and then basically they're just sharing about like offering yourselves, and then there was this moment where there are these group of people queuing in that drama.
Yeah.
So there's these rich people, and then when they reach to the last person who was like really torn clothes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, goes to the altar, and then there's a box there where they're giving the offering.
Yeah.
She just put herself inside a box.
Oh, wow.
So like when we were talking about like giving ourselves, it just reminds me of that picture of like for the widow, it's almost similar to that image, sort of like that 2 cent is basically her giving
Yeah.
her whole self.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's a very vivid image. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that she just put herself.
I'm gonna think about that one from now on.
I can't fit inside the offering bag right now. It's too-
need to lose weight. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. So, with a deep sacrifice, there is a need for deep trust. And like we mentioned, she gave out her need. And basically, I think her generosity also puts her in a place of trusting Jesus, because I think she's giving all of that, right?
Yeah.
Basically, if she has nothing left, she literally is saying, like, all I have, I'm trusting you, Jesus,
Yeah.
with it. So, Lord, help me, or something like that. Because I
Yeah.
can't imagine, like, for someone to have no faith to do that.
Yeah.
Because she's
Yeah.
definitely trusting in Jesus to come through for her.
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be like, what will I give up? And I don't know, what do you think a life of total abandon looks like to you?
A total
Abandon.
when you are giving up something and expecting nothing coming back.
Yeah.
I think that's how I would see. What was the question?
Well, that's a life of total abandonment.
Total abandonment. Yeah. So for me, it's more of like, total abandonment, meaning like, when you give up something, like you're giving or sacrificing something away, you're not expecting a reciprocation.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like we know the character of God. That's how much we like in terms of the trust. That's how we know who God is, right? Like, we know that it may not be through the area where we're expecting that He would be giving back, but you know that the Lord's nature is He will be blessing you. So the expectation of you, once you give up something, is you're not expecting any reciprocation.
Yeah.
But of course, it's easier said than done sometimes when time comes and then you feel that you're being abandoned, and then you start of like questioning, like what we were talking about previously about having these sort of doubts. But then in general, like with that question of total abandonment, I do feel like when you're about to give something, you're sacrificing something, it's about there's no reciprocation, no expectation of reciprocation.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when I was going through the sermon as well, of just you can tell that the rich people in the story, the rich people, when they were giving a show, their relationship with God is transactional, or the relationship with the priests and the Pharisees are transactional. I give to your church, therefore I don't know, your prayers must bless me more. And then so to me also, living in total abandonment is having such a change of heart that I trust God to fulfill his character. I trust God to fulfill his goodness, because I see myself right now, especially when I'm not having the best season. I have to remind myself, I remind myself, God's promises are good. God will never leave you nor forsake you. All of these things, because something in me still doesn't fully trust. Something in me still doesn't go like, oh, Steph, you're so tired, but go do this. God's calling you to do it. He like something will come out of it. Your heart will change. I'm like, no.
But then that's the thing, because you're holding to God's promises. It's not necessarily holding on to the expectation of, Lord, I gave you this, so I'm expecting.
Therefore, give me a Tesla.
You're
The prosperity gospel, man.
Yeah. So, but
took so long to shake myself out of it.
So basically, because the expectation there is not from the giving part, it's the expectation of, how good your God is, that he would bless you, and his promises are always yes and amen.
Yeah.
It's not in the aspect of like, because I gave you something, I'll be expecting return.
That's true.
So those are, that's what I think the difference between the expectation of what you will be receiving. You're receiving. Your expectation of receiving is because you know that your God is a good God, and you're in good hands. That's
I don't know how to add to that. It's also good. Like, I think a life of total abandonment is, I just imagine, like, one of the most freeing moments I've been in has been in the ocean, where there's nothing holding you back, and you're just having like maybe flippers on, and you just see the vast expanse in front of you, like the fish, the reefs, and everything. I think when you're living in the life of total abandonment, you just see like all the beauty that God has before you, that and the things that you could potentially explore and achieve with the Lord.
That's good.
And kind of just reaching out for that. And I think that's how I would love to live my life for the Lord, is to be able to see all that he has, the vast expanse, without worrying about like, oh, I gotta wear this, oh, I gotta do this, oh, I gotta make sure that I do the right thing. Like, how do I live a life that I'm like plunging headfirst into this beauty of God's call for my life. And so I guess that's how I would see a life of total abandonment.
And I think to add as well, it's just sometimes when I was also listening to this passage as well, I'm sort of being reminded also that of how God would give 100% as well to everything that he does. From the creation, he knew that like when we read Genesis as well, of how he made people, he made it perfectly. And how he has brought his son Jesus to die on the cross. That one is like total abandonment. Like, Jesus had no expectation of us receiving him, but then he would be willing to sacrifice his life because he knows that this is the plan that God the Father, that's the prophecy. And with that action, like what he did on the cross is such a strong sort of testimony as Christians as well of how we should live our life with total abandonment in whatever we do. Abandonment, of course, not to the point where you're very reckless.
You don't want to be like doing dumb stuff. For Jesus. Like, that's just stupidity.
the Lord will give you wisdom in that area, definitely,
yeah.
sure. But
Just
just
listen, just listen.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just came in my mind, so I just wanted to say that too.
No, that's good. Yeah, so I think with anything with this series, like for us to see that, yeah, missions, it's not something that we do, but it's something that we are, as we heard like what Jung said, and I think, we want people to see the cross, right?
Yeah.
Within us, like basically with the impact that Jesus has in our lives, and we can be missionaries, not just like
To cross the sea.
I mean, yeah,
but
yeah.
for them to see
to
the
the cross, yeah, and then also we're not just going overseas; it's also here as well.
yeah.
So I think, I guess, like, yeah, as we move on and from the series, yes, missions, evangelism, I think that's areas that we can definitely grow in and so on. But I think just to have a mindset that, to always ask like for God's heart for his people,
Amen.
and just to be all in, to just show up when he calls us to.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
yeah, that's that.
That's good.
Cool. Awesome.
Does
Well,
that wrap up our series?
that's
Yeah.
wrapped up. Our series is wrapped up. That's good. That's a good talk. Good talk.
That wraps up our series.
That wraps up our series.
Sorry, guys.
Cool. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in our next grind.
Bye.